All right. Good evening and welcome to the Hanson Select Board meeting of August 20th, 2024. This meeting is being recorded on Whitman Hanson Community Access Television. Please rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, well, we have a packed and fantastic agenda, but before we start that, Mr. Hale, may I prevail upon you to read the announcements?
Do I have the announcements?
They are in your agenda, sir. Third page.
Agenda, third page.
Here you go.
Oh, my goodness.
Right there.
I'm going to start here. We are looking for citizens at large to become members of the following committees: the Bylaw Committee, Cable and Internet Committee, Cultural Council, Economic Development Committee, Energy Committee, Recreation Commission, Memorial Day and Patriotic Observance Committee, Zoning Board of Appeals. Volunteer applications may be found on the town website, www.hanson-mass.gov, or by calling the Select Board office at 781-293-2131. The state's primary will be held on September 3rd, 2024, at the Hanson Middle School from 7 a.m. until, is that 5? No, 8 o'clock p.m.
8 p.m. Yep.
Early voting hours for September 3, 2024 state primary will be held at the Hanson Town Hall as follows: Saturday, August 24th from 9 to 3. Monday, August 26th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday, August 27th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Wednesday, August 28th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Thursday, August 29th from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And finally, Friday, August 30th from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. Upcoming Select Board meetings: September 17th, 2024, September 24th, 2024, and then the special town meeting is October 7th, 2024.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Hale. And do we have a meeting next week as well, Ms. McDowell?
It's not on there.
No, so September 20, so August 27th as well. Okay, fantastic. Well, with that, we will move on to our first and quite lovely agenda item of acknowledging the retirement of Lee Gamache. And I don't know who I've said this to. I know I've said it to Lee. Lee is the type of employee in person that you hope to know and work with. She is the epitome of professionalism, level-headedness, intelligence, patience. I could go on, but she's a fantastic person, and we feel ourselves very, very lucky to have had her work with us for the number of years that she did. But Ms. Green, I digress. Did you want to say anything?
I can just say that I had the pleasure of working with Lee for the first 3 years that I was here in Hanson, and I found her just to be so helpful with everything, with me, with having me get acclimated with the departments, with people, things like that. So recognizing her retirement is really a great opportunity today. We sorely miss her, but understand she's enjoying her retirement.
And I might say, just to add to the many, many accomplishments of Lee, she also did a great job of making sure that when she departed, that she had a succession plan in place, because, again, the true professional, amazing. So I didn't know, did anybody else want to chime in and say anything, or?
I mean, I agree with everything that's been said. It's been a pleasure to, as a resident and as a Select Board member, to work with Lee. It's been.
If I may, one more, Madam Chair?
Yes.
And I believe,
Well, I just want to
Lee Gamache was also part of the committee that had the map redone that is now hanging in our town hall, which they did a wonderful job. So, again, thank you, Lee, for that.
Oh, and several other projects. And also I had the good fortunate to work with Lee on the 200th anniversary committee. We had a lot of fun. We didn't know it was going to be our last hurrah before COVID shut everything down, but in February of 2020. We had a good time, at which actually Senator Brady was, may or may not have taken the mic and started singing. Many other things happened there, but what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. What happened at the 200th anniversary stays there. With that, Ann and David, did you want to?
I unfortunately don't know Lee that well. I just have heard of a great reputation, and it's sad to see you go, but have a good retirement.
Enjoy your retirement.
Okay, and we've got Senator Brady and Al from Senator Brady's office. Senator Brady, did you want to take the witness stand here?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and to the select board members as well. We have a small token for League of Masters, if you wouldn't mind coming up, please. And we appreciate all your service to the town over the several years, and we have an official citation from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the State Senate. Be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends congratulations to Lee Gamache in recognition of your retirement as town assessor, over 30 years of service as a municipal employee, and your dedication and commitment to the town of Hanson. And be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its best wishes for continued success. That this citation be duly signed by the President of the Senate, Karen Spilka, and attested to the Clerk of the Senate, Michael Hurley, and adopted by myself, United States Senator Michael Brady. And thank you for your years of service.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Would you like us to get behind, and we can do a group photo behind you? Would that work? Or do you want us to have it stand? What would-
No, that sounds good. Rob, could we take a brief recess, please? All right, and thank you for indulging us on that brief recess, and we are back. And next on the agenda is to present Sean Lewis as a candidate for Assistant Assessor. Ms. Green.
Yes, Madam Chair, Vice Chair, members of the board, as we know, upon our Assessor Lee Gamache's retirement, we had a position to fill, and the Board of Assessors appointed our Assistant Assessor, Denise Alexander, to, as our new assessor, which led us down the path to look for an Assistant Assessor. We did advertise. They held interviews, and we're here to present Mr. Lewis as the candidate that the assessors would like to present to the board. And with that, I will turn it over to Denise to give the formalities.
Okay, and do you mind taking I know it's an awkward arrangement, but it's what we've got, so, okay. Yes, that would be amazing. Yep, thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us.
So I'm very excited to have Sean as part of the team of the assessing team here in Hanson. He comes with experience. He's from another assessor's office, and he is currently doing cyclical, permanent inspections and sales and doing it all. So the other positive for our Hanson as well is he's working on the same camera appraisal system, so that's a big plus for us. I really am confident and excited about having him as part of our team. So, that.
Did you want to tell us anything about you?
Sure. I've been, a little background, I've been in the assessing office in the town of Bourne for 2 years now. Before that, I came from a long background of sales management experience throughout the country, so been around. But yeah, I really I use all the same systems as Hanson uses right now. I'm ready to fill the position and get started, so.
Okay, well,
Very
that's
excited.
amazing. We'd love to poach people, because it happens to us, so we like to return the favor. Did anybody have any questions for Mr. Lewis? No, and so the Board of Assessors has recommended, you guys are recommending, Denise is recommending.
Yes, we're recommending.
Okay.
Support the board.
All right,
Don't
so,
have any conflicts with taking this job, right?
I told we have a lot of routes to be going
out
on this year.
you don't have any friends or relations that do business in Hanson, have a business in Hanson, anything of that sort? Okay, great. Good question, Mrs. Rain. Okay, I will entertain a motion to appoint Sean Lewis to the position of Assistant Assessor. The effective date is
September 23rd.
September 23rd, okay? And I will entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay, great, congratulations and welcome.
Welcome.
We're thrilled to have you.
Thank you so much.
I can tell how excited Denise
He is
is.
so excited.
I haven't seen her smile this much for years. It's awesome.
We're on the same page.
Yeah, that's awesome. Great. All right, thank you. All right, and then, next up is vote to appropriate savings from the paid-off Plymouth County Retirement Unfunded Assessment to the OPEB liability balance. That sounds like a you thing, Mr. Kincher.
Well, good evening.
Good evening.
So, I know a while back, we were talking about retirement assessment, and at some point, we're gonna be paid off with the unfunded pension liability.
Yes, yep,
And so right now, we are gonna be, right now, we owe $15 million in unfunded pension liability. And right now, it's scheduled to be amortized until 2032. 2031. So basically, we pay $2.6 million. So if we didn't have to fund that unfunded pension liability, our assessment would have been like $800,000, so there's like a $1.8 million savings. So, like I said, we have 15 million that's being paid off, 1.8 million at a time since 2031. And then I know there was some talk like, oh, good, now we'll have a windfall. But in addition to that 15 million for the pension liability, we have $17 million liability for the, retiree health insurance benefits. So the thought was that, the board, as a policy, would say, as soon as those savings come to fruition in 2032, that would use 100% of the savings to offset the pension liability. So currently, right now, we're paying probably approximately like 1.8 million a year to pay down the retiree pension liability. Then after that, we can go ahead and pay down the 17 million OPEB liability. So that's a plan to pay it. And the reason it would be a great idea for the board to do it is when they value, if they know the town has a exact plan to pay it off, it's looked upon favorably, they give us like a higher investment earnings, and that basically kind of brings the liability down. So it's just a plan to pay it. It's just a vote. So what I would ask, if any questions, then if you take a vote, I would just ask Lynn for the minutes, and I'd give the minutes to our actuary and our auditor.
I was gonna say, didn't the auditor, he was quite
Yes.
bullish on this.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, so, I will entertain a motion to appropriate the savings from the paid-off Plymouth County Retirement Unfunded Assessment to the OPEB liability balance. What's the effective date?
It would be starting, it would be 7/1/31, July 1st.
Okay, yes, yeah.
I thought the date was in 2029, and never heard anything about the 17 million, so
Okay.
we were not fully informed.
Correct. So what happened was, there was an email chain that went around, one of Lisa's colleagues, in East Bridgewater, he's sharp as a tack, he said, I didn't get the memo. Everybody was under the impression that it was gonna be 2029, but when they did the actuarial study again, they tacked another 2 years on the amortization schedule. So I talked to, Tom O'Brien about that, and, talking about different factors, like why they had to do that. But,
And why did they?
well, and they said it's because, Tom said it was because the employees, the mortality table, they had to change. They were using a old mortality table, so since people are living longer, you project out have to pay more. So that was like the main driver. But I kind of almost looked at it as like a carrot. Here's the carrot for 2029. You're almost there. Nope, it's going to be.
That's
2029.
true.
It seems
And,
Yeah.
and my other point too is that there was no mention of the 17 million, so we were kind of led to believe that we were going to be done with that liability and it would free up money, and now we're not freeing up any money, we're throwing it at another liability.
Right, So,
Everybody needs health insurance, don't get me wrong, I
Yeah.
right,
equivalent with that.
so, yeah, so the retiree liability is one thing, that's where we're addressing the $15 million. But the 17 million liability, when the auditor came, he explained that was it. Now, right now, we're putting like 25,000 a year, like a nominal amount in it. So, to be responsible, you know,
Well, obviously,
come up with a plan.
the carrot was rotted from the beginning.
I'm not gonna comment on that, yes, so, and
I am surprised that they can change the payoff date without circling back or any kind of I'm sure there was some language embedded in the agreement that, you know, all the towns signed, but if we thought that it was gonna be paid off in 2029, and now it's being extended to 2031, and I know, I deal with pension plans, I understand the mortality tables, and I know they've changed, and people are living a lot longer. I get all of that, but it does seem as though there was a little disconnect there of, excuse me, did you not think to circle back and?
yeah, I don't believe there was an official communication to the towns regarding the extension of the liability. The reason I found out about it is because, Lisa's email chain, one of the town administrators picked up on it.
Mhm.
Then I subsequently called Tom and he kind of explained to me like but there was no official communication. And it's funny because I always would pique my interest is I always hear people, oh, the 2029, oh, we're gonna be all set, our problems are gonna be solved after that, we're gonna be flush. So no matter what you do now, you're good because we're gonna have that windfall. Like, in my opinion, even that 2031 date, right now they're counting on getting 8% on the investments. And like the auditor said, that's kind of high projection. So if they don't earn 8%, that means we'll go a little bit further. If they earn greater than 8%, it goes the other way. So that's it. So in the whole thing about like accounting and all these new rules with the GASB, it's just like a true sense of what's owed. And in layman's terms, the way I look at it is this 17 million OPEB liability. If the town went out of business on June 30th and no longer had any money, in order to fund those employee benefits, they need $17 million in the bank to fund it. So that's like the theory behind it. So that's where we're at. Like, it is a positive thing if the vote's taken because at least the bond rating agencies and so forth, they understand that the governance of the town acknowledges it and has some sort of a plan.
How do we know they're not gonna change the payoff date again?
They're gonna.
Every 2 years, they have an actuarial study. They have to do an actuarial study. So, yeah, when they do the actuarial study, the actuary says, all right, this is what your expected rate of return is, and we're updating it. So if it's more or less, so every 2 years, they change the valuation. They could have kept it the same, but then our retirement assessments probably would have went up 25%.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I just, 8% is really unattainable to me. Do we know what the previous year's rate of return has been? Has it been even close to 8?
I don't offhand, I do not know.
They've had phenomenal, because when I went to the Plymouth County, whatever it was,
They do a great job.
They've had phenomenal returns, but that doesn't guarantee the future returns, so.
They say 31, but to me, that's like you say, that's a carrot. That's not gonna be 31, that's just gonna be,
Right.
I mean, I hate to say it, but it's just gonna keep going.
Could we ask that we be updated when those payoff dates are changed respectfully, that we would like to be updated? I don't think that that's asking too much. You know, I mean, particularly since this is kind of like one of our financial underpinnings, and, you know, like, what if we had taken a vote before you knew about the 2031, you know, that said 2029, and, you know, we're building this sort of house of cards based on a payoff of 2029, thinking, oh, we can do this in 2029, we can do that in 2029, and they moved the goalpost.
Absolutely, you could have did a borrowing authorization, say, let's have the first payment due in FY 2029. We'll be able to fund 1.8 million a year for this borrowing. If you did that, then you'd be kind of stuck.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed, Lisa, in that, so if we could reach out. Yeah. Good catch, Mrs. Rain. So with that said, do you want to entertain a motion to,
to,
Yeah, for
Appropriate the
2031, yeah, to when, you know, I mean, we're saying 2031, but essentially whenever it gets paid off. We want to recognize that that's money we otherwise would be spending on this, that we want to spend on our OPEB, because that's just continuing to grow and grow and grow and
do we want
compound.
the motion to include 2031 in it, or just whenever it gets?
I would say, starting in 2032, because the current amortization schedule says it's gonna be paid off on June 30th, 2031. So I would just kind of go with that.
Okay, and maybe we can even like refine it a little, or later date as may be adjusted and communicated by Plymouth County.
Yeah, so if they send us a new
Yeah.
amortization schedule, maybe, who knows? Let's look at optimistically, maybe they'll send us a schedule that, it's down to 2029, we had such great investments returns. Unlikely, but.
Yeah. I like your unbridled enthusiasm, which is very rare for a town accountant, very rare commodity, Mr. Kincher. Okay, I'll entertain that motion to appropriate savings from the paid-off Plymouth County retirement unfunded assessment to the OPEB liability balance beginning in 2032 or a later year as may be communicated to us from Plymouth County for the payoff.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, fantastic. And that brings, thank you, Mr. Kincher, we appreciate it. And that brings us to, McQuon School State House note documentation to review and sign. Ms. Green.
Okay, so, just give a little background. When we had entered into a contract to demolish the McQuon School, we had received some, ARPA funds towards that, demolish, and then we, needed to borrow $580,000 to cover the rest of the cost. What we have here now is basically the bond anticipated note of $480. The town paid $100,000 towards that $580,000 that we borrowed before, and this is the bond notice to reborrow the $480 at a 4.5% interest rate.
Versus,
I don't know what the current interest rate was. I believe it was, I don't believe there was an interest rate. I think it was just a payoff of $100,000, but I don't know what that interest rate was before.
okay.
I can call the treasurer collector down to say what it was.
So this is the item, that's the bond application note?
Yes.
Okay. And
Are these two different
what?
documents, the first and second page? I'm confused.
No, it looks like they're the same. There's two for, so that we have two originals to give to the treasurer collector.
Okay. All right, but, so we've got two copies, okay. And then, 4.5% payable to maturity, 30 to, okay. What is the due date on this? Oh, it's due August 28th.
28 of 2025.
Okay, is there any way that you could, get that additional information about what the borrowing rate is now versus what it's going to be?
Yeah, I'll run upstairs right now. I'll have, Emily will run upstairs and have, Lisa come down.
Okay, that would be great.
Yeah.
Yep, okay,
She
great.
can give that information.
All right, great, so we'll just put a little pin in that and
We're
move.
not spending money here,
No, this is just, a borrowing for money we are, like, this is like, I guess I'd say, almost like remortgaging, like, we've already done the borrowing. Now, I assume this is a lower rate, or there's some reason why Lisa's having us borrow the money, but we need that explanation. Okay, so we're moving on. Proposed, let's do approve request for 14th annual Damien's Freaky 5K Road Race, Sunday, October 27th, starting at Damien's Pub at 10 a.m. I will entertain that motion.
So moved. Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, great. Approve request for Hanson Pack 34, use of McQuon School Lot on May 10th, 2025 for Touch a Truck, 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. I love a group that plans this far in advance. I will entertain a motion to approve their request.
so moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, great. And why don't we get to discuss October special town meeting, Ms. Green?
Okay, so,
We'll circle back on the Town of Hanson Citizen Survey once we get through that.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so at our last meeting, the board did vote to close the warrant. However, there were some circumstances that came up, where people basically submitted some additional articles, to be into the warrant. So I'm asking the chair and the board if they would reopen the warrant, and then I can explain the articles that were submitted.
Which articles are those? They're out there.
She's going to explain them.
Oh, okay.
She said, I'll entertain a motion to reopen the town meeting warrant. So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, Ms. Green.
Okay, so a article for, I'm looking at you, what article was the? Because I know you changed it for there is an article that is from the Board of Health, to reinstate the health agent to full-time, and that is article number 22. We did have a conversation with them, regarding the late submission of the article, and it was agreed that we would accept the article.
And just to be clear, this is a placeholder because they have not yet voted on this, as a board. And I don't know when their next meeting is, but it wasn't going to be before tonight.
Exactly.
So the chair was very clear that he did not want anybody to think that he was unilaterally placing this article in. He absolutely said he just wanted a placeholder and that the board and, as a whole would decide the next time they met. So just want to make sure that everybody's clear on that one.
Last time we talked, though, we were trying to figure out why they were submitted late, not just what the article was. So why was it submitted late?
This was a situation, I spoke to Mr. Perkins, about this. This was a situation, he was not aware of what the deadline was. And so he apologized and profusely in his email and in his conversation with me, and said that he and the board were not, they had sort of like touched on this as a potential article, but they didn't know the actual deadline for the article. So I did mention that historically, perhaps, that department has not been diligent about meeting deadlines, and that at some point, we have to say, everybody else is meeting the deadline, you too need to meet the deadline, and that was accepted and understood.
And the boards the chairs get all these, they know that.
I don't know that Mr. Perkins would have gotten copied on this because they reorganized, so I don't know that he knew.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So that was one. There was another one, that I had submitted an application for, the food pantry through ARPA for updates in the amount of $125,000. I did receive an email late on Friday.
I'm sorry. We've got an Article 22 and an Article 23 with different dollar amounts in here. Which one's right?
So, well, 22 is for the conservation.
Oh, okay,
Is for
sorry.
conservation,
Okay.
And 23 is Board of Health,
All right.
is the health agent. All right, so, under Article 20, basically on Friday, I received an email from the ARPA CLA, folks who are reviewing the applications that, the food pantry, the updates were submitted under the negative economic, impact under COVID. And under that, you actually have to spend the money first and then apply for reimbursement. However, this afternoon, as I was speaking with Mr. Kinship on that, because I do have that email that says the application that I submitted is eligible for ARPA funds, basically that article is no longer required, so we took it back out. Like I said, and that all transpired this afternoon when I sat.
So are you saying we don't need Article 20?
We do need Article 20.
Okay.
But with the food pantry facility, we took that out and actually submitted an article, but after talking with Mr. Kinstra, we took that article out and put the food pantry back in it. in
Okay,
Article
so is
20.
Article 20 staying as is?
It's staying as is, yes.
Two separate articles.
That's what I was
Two
trying to
separate
get to,
articles,
thank you.
yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so that was really a procedural,
A procedural, right,
Okay.
so.
okay, did you have anything? And thanks for joining us, Lisa, we will definitely get to you, sorry.
Let's see, Article 19, there's just some number changes, in the amounts coming out of, the individual accounts for, the purchase of the Hubble property.
Oh, yeah, that was different buckets.
Yeah.
They ran out of money from the open space reserve, yep.
In, let's see, Article 18, the easement, was that in there before? I don't believe the easement was in there before. No, Article equals, okay, so Article 18, this is language for an easement, and the address, it is 1139 Main Street, which is the new Ford condo development that's right next to our fire station on Main Street.
Yeah.
So this here, the owner of the property of 1139 is granting the town an easement that is located right next to the fire station building for utility purposes.
Okay,
So that's what this is. We do need a town meeting vote for that, but that is the owner of that property granting the town an easement. But
Which we need.
Yes, to get to access to the utilities that are right next to the fire station
and
building.
did we just find out about that, or is that why that's just?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And basically those are the only, which one is that one?
21.
Oh, well, the VOTEC, we have a placeholder in that, but we did receive, the amended agreement actually this morning from Superintendent Hickey. So I did send that off to town council to review. So hopefully we'll have that language to place in the warrant. Also, one other update that is a possibility, and I do have to, ask town council. In our, so under Article 4, which is our classification and compensation bylaws, under Section 11A, professional positions, we had spoken about removing the informational technology director from that bylaw so that we can make it a contracted position. And then at the bottom, under Section 11B, administrative and/or full-time, line J is an information technology specialist with a salary range added in there. So we did add that. We did have our two articles in here, which is Article 5 and Article 6, that basically say the same thing. We're going to remove the IT director from the bylaw and then create the informational technology specialist in the bylaw. However, there's a question of whether we actually need those. If we document it in Article 4 and bold it and then just put a little note and then add it down at the bottom as it is, we may not need that additional language.
Okay, but again, we haven't discussed that in wage and personnel, which
That has
we
not,
need to
right,
do,
yes,
which I
that
think
is
we're
on an
scheduled to
agenda.
do tonight,
Yes,
so.
that is on an agenda.
But you're just saying, put a placeholder so that we can,
Put a placeholder,
Okay.
right, so that we can take care of that business in October.
okay. Did anybody have any questions?
My only question is, why do we have this spreadsheet that seems to have the wrong numbers on it? I'm a little slow tonight, you know.
Oh, yeah, no, you've been going
Too much
through a
on my
lot,
little
yeah, I
brain.
know.
This spreadsheet does not have the same numbers as in this. Why do we have it like this? So 21 on this is the Conservation Commission Restore Conservation Agent hours. And then in here, 21 is the South Shore VOTEC.
Was this spreadsheet done
It says
before you
draft.
updated and inserted
It says
the?
draft, so we can just
Okay.
ignore this.
Yeah, fine, okay.
Don't confuse me. So it's too easy to confuse me right now.
Yeah, if we can just update that so that they tick and tie, that would be great. Well, I'd say somebody who doesn't think they're firing on all engines, you're firing on all right. So, anything else on that? Any further discussions or questions? All right, I will entertain a motion to close the special town meeting, warrant for October.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, and do we need a roll call on that one?
I usually take one.
Okay, let's just do it on everybody.
Aye.
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 Okay, fantastic. All right, and then that brings us to,
Oh, what about the,
McQuon School State House note documentation to review and sign. So, help us help you. What, we need a decoder ring. We're not sure what's happening or what the rate is or any of that information.
So the rate is 4.41, net interest cost.
So can you take us back a few steps and
Sure.
lay this up for us?
So it was a one-year ban.
Okay, all right, okay.
So Eric and I discussed it to help the budget. We're paying $100,000 out of that and re-bidding for the balance. So
Okay.
that we can stretch out, because we would have had to pay the full amount this year.
Okay,
Obviously, to ease some of the squeeze that we have going on. We decided to do that. And we did get a very good, competitive rate. We only had 2 bidders and,
4.5, people would take that in a heartbeat, that was great, yeah.
4.41 is
Yeah.
the net interest cost. But yeah, it was great. He way outbidded the other, so we're very happy with the outcome.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense to me. Did anybody have any questions?
Did you say what was the rate before?
No,
Yeah, so I don't know what that previous rate was. I didn't know to look for that.
No, that's fine,
Did you?
if you don't, that's.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. But it was a year ago, so, I could look it up and let
I
you
doubt it
know.
was lower than what you've got.
Right. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you know, I think the rates have been hovering around the 4 or 5 area, so, I could check it and let Lisa know so she can tell you.
But it wasn't done for the purposes of the interest rate, it was
No,
done to
yeah.
extend out those payments.
Yeah, that's
so-
what it was really
Yeah.
done for.
Right.
And, you know, to help us with the budget
Yep.
constraints.
Okay, well, I think it's amazing you guys are collaborating and coming up with these great ideas, every little penny counts.
That's right.
I will entertain a motion to approve entering into the certificate and covenant as to tax exempt status of notes. I don't know, what are we looking at here?
We don't need to read
And the
this.
You don't
renewal,
need to read anything, you just need to sign.
okay.
Yeah.
All right, so
And then I'll
yeah.
upload it into the state.
All right. So I will entertain a motion to approve what has just been proposed by the town treasurer.
so moved.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
All in
you.
favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. We'll sign it and get it up to you. We'll
Okay,
have our
thank you
people
very
call your people,
So
okay?
you have, yeah,
Thanks. Yep.
Sorry, Dave.
that's the real one.
Okay, and then that brings us, Ms. Green, to the proposed Town of Hanson Citizen Survey.
Okay.
And I believe
So we have Melinda Torsi, we have to.
we're gonna have a Zoom call, so get ready to,
I think it's just.
We're gonna have a what? Oh.
for technology
To recess then?
pandemonium
Do we
too.
want to
That's a
recess?
great idea. Rob, can we call a brief recess? Do you think that might be in order? All right. To our Hanson Select Board meeting. We are, now discussing, the proposed Town of Hanson Citizen Survey. Ms. Green, could I, prevail upon you to lay this up?
Yes. Okay. With the number of projects that we are looking at here in Hanson, we have the McQuon School property, highway building, fire department building. We looking at an override. I thought maybe it's good to know where the citizens are, or I want to add the library in as well. I thought it'd be good to kind of get an idea of where the citizens are and their thoughts to all of these different projects. Dr. Tarsi Goldfein is a professor with Bridgewater State, with the Masters of Public Administration Department. She actually helped Whitman a few years back conduct a survey, again, to see where citizens, where their residents, or where their thoughts were on priorities. So I reached out to her and thought maybe this would be a good time to conduct such a survey here in the town of Hanson to really get an idea of what citizens are thinking and where they are in their thoughts of these different projects. And Bridgewater Estate does do a great job. They did a good job in Whitman, and there's no charge for the service for the town. So it's really fantastic to reach out to them and have them as a partner. And with that, I'll turn it over to Dr. Tarsi Goldstein.
Hi, welcome, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. So as Lisa was saying, I've had the pleasure of working with her previously in the town of Whitman on a survey. My research interest is in local government and municipal finance. I also serve in local government in the town of Mansfield and local finance. Previously, I was the FinCom chair in Halifax. And I really enjoy bringing my students into different projects, real-world application of principles, and I find that these citizen satisfaction surveys can be a great, not only tool for you all as decision makers, but also a great educational experience for my students who can help with drafting the survey, analyzing results, presenting results, etc. So as Lisa mentioned, I've done that in Whitman, Millbury, Bridgewater, and I'm currently working on one in the town of Mansfield. And again, this is something that we do as a community service project. We go through the normal procedure for academic research, which includes human subjects or institutional review board approval. And we utilize a online platform known as Qualtrics. It's a very advanced online survey platform. We also have the ability to put out paper surveys for any residents who may be more comfortable filling out a paper version of a survey as opposed to an online one. So I'm more than happy to answer any questions about question development, modality of the survey, timing. Really just would love to partner with the town of Hanson and again, bring this experience into the classroom.
Yep, so we definitely would want some hard copy surveys, because there are folks that are, that are a little challenged, or maybe they don't even have access to the internet, or that's just not, they don't feel comfortable responding in that way. And we want to reach people where they're at, and however they're comfortable. We want to make sure we're getting a good cross-section of everybody in the town, right? We don't want, just one demographic to be responding. And in terms of the question development, can you walk us through how you guys would decide what questions you're asking? Because as Ms. Green kind of laid this up, we've got a number of competing demands, that we know, for instance, that the fire station, has got needs, the library's got needs, that, we've got a piece of property, McQuon, that, we haven't done anything with yet. We've torn the building down, and we only have so much money, and very little money at that. And so this, to me, would be helpful for us to gauge, what is the average citizen feeling as far as what is the priority? How do we want the select board to focus their energies and our money as a citizen? That's kind of like where I'm coming from. Is that what you guys are thinking, or are you guys?
So what I'm thinking about is along the same vein, but I think, one of the things that I'm very interested in is what the folks want versus what we need. And I think there's a huge distinction there, because we do a lot of public comment sections, and we have lots of open meetings, and we do lots of focus groups around this stuff. And it's all valid and it's all great, but sometimes we swing for the fences, and we don't have a $20 million to put in a new state-of-the-art facility that has bells and whistles that are supposed to be attractions. We'd love to do that. I chair one of the committees that oversees the development of a park, and the idea is that sometimes we have, like, I'm not kidding, $20 million ideas on the table, and we don't have that. We're looking at budget cuts, and we're trying to get our foundational finances in order at this point. So I guess I'd like to see questions that are more pointed to what can we practically do with the resources that we have to make the best community that we possibly can that doesn't leave anybody behind. I'd like to steer towards that.
I like where you're going with that, because although well-intentioned and we don't want to discourage people from brainstorming, we do have practical realities that we have to deal with. So, you know, the more we can, I don't want people to be disappointed, like, I proposed, you know, a Water Whiz in Hanson and next to a Taco Bell, and they didn't do it. Like, I don't, you know, and these are real suggestions that people come up with. So, you know, if we could, you know, kind of, and I'm sure you guys will sort of make sure that we're focusing people on realistic things that we're able to do, yeah. Mr. Hill, did you have something? Oh, okay. So how will you develop these questions? What's your process for that?
So it would be very collaborative. I would work with you all, just like you're doing right now. What is the data that we want to have on the back end, right? So priority ranking might be one thing. And then I can take that to my students. I have a lot of experience in public opinion research, and we'll say, all right, what's the best way to develop a question that will give town decision makers a priority ranking of various projects, as an example. We can also formulate questions on that sort of, we have one pot of money, what can we actually accomplish with this
Yes.
one pot of money? And,
Yes.
and I would add too, because, you know, I've been involved in FinComs now in a few towns, I think the time frame is also relevant as well, right? We know that across the Commonwealth last year, this year, coming up, these are going to be really tight budget years for everyone. So how do we indicate and show that we're making plans for the coming years while understanding that right now might be the belt tightening time? That can also be something on the survey, right? It can be as much of a educational tool for the public to be attuned to what's going on and to receive some information, not in terms of biasing questions or anything like that, but laying out the reality of the budget, laying out the reality of the time frame for certain projects can also help give people a sense of context. And that can be really useful as well.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. What do you guys think, Ann, David?
Whatever they,
Like, we'll respond once we start with the
Yes,
questions, we'll
yes.
kind of like work on it.
yeah, let's work, you know, develop them.
Yeah.
Get some suggestions, because my mind is blank right now. when it comes
So, how do you usually work that? Do you kind of like come up with like a smattering of questions that you sort of throw at us, and then we kind of respond, and we
Yeah.
just sort of take it from there?
to- Yes.
Yeah, and it can be, if you all want to, or, you know, send to Lisa, for example, ideas of the kind of information you want, doesn't have to be formulated into questions at this point. You can just throw, we can throw whatever at the wall. I can take it and transform that into some questions and send that back to you and see how you're feeling about the way the questions are posed. I also pay attention to things like question ordering, because even the order that we ask a question in can sometimes bias results later on in the survey. And I already have a bank of demographic information or demographic questions that I can supply. You're always welcome to suggest more, but that can help you also get a sense of who's answering the question, who's answering the survey rather. So, for example, in previous towns, we tend to ask whether or not the respondent attended the previous annual town meeting. Multiple surveys now, I found that the majority of survey respondents didn't attend the last town meeting. Now, we didn't go into why, but it's just giving you an indication that you're hearing from folks that maybe you haven't heard from in other venues, right? Which can be really useful for you as a
Which I
so.
love that, and I, not to make the survey everything that, you know, like answering all of our, you know, seemingly unanswerable questions, but, wondering, we do struggle, just like every other town does, with attendance at town meeting. And I'm wondering if there might be an ability to weave that into this, you know, like, what would it take for you to attend town meeting? Like, how could we make this, you know, more appealing to you? Like, you know, is it the date? Is it the time? Is it that the subject matter is, you know, is boring to you? Is it, you know, like, I don't know what, you know, what it would, but, you know, think about that. If it overcomplicates it and we lose the focus, then we don't need to approach that, but that is something we've been perpetually struggling with. And it's disheartening, and I'm sure, having served on, you know, on a municipal board, you recognize that, you know, you're putting all this time and effort in, and you're like, please, we just need 100 people to show up at town meeting, please. You know, it can be really demoralizing, you know. So whatever, you know, if we could get some suggestions from people that might respond to a survey but haven't been to a town meeting, we'd love to hear from them.
Right, and for example, we can basically make the paper copy look almost exactly like the online version of the survey, but we can ask folks follow-up questions. So if they say, no, I didn't attend the last town meeting, all right, what were some of the obstacles to you maybe attending? Was it childcare? Was it the timing? Was it whatever it was?
Yep.
So we can also then break out, and I think that fits in really well with the demographic information. So I don't think that would overcomplicate. I think then if you find out that maybe, for example, a lack of information is something that folks are perceiving as a barrier to attending town meeting, that gives you information to say, all right, well then what's the best way for us to reach out to citizens and maybe talk to them about some of the upcoming projects while laying out the reality of the current fiscal situation.
Okay, that's awesome. Did anybody have anything else?
I have one thing.
Yes.
I don't know
Of
what
course
the
you do.
answer to this is, but a lot of citizens are gonna say, well, I just feel like I just filled out a citizen survey yesterday. I mean, it was a couple of years ago, but they needed, find that there's gonna be value to it. If they just think, oh, I gave this survey and they did nothing, and now you're doing another survey, not that we did nothing, but there are some people that don't follow town government as
Yeah,
much as we
sure.
would like, to know that we did do something with it, but I think we just,
So do you talk about in the survey, like, what will be done with the results of this survey?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how will, like, what's in it for me? Like, why should I even fill the survey out? Do you have like that type of a narrative?
Yeah, so I have a boilerplate that talks about, so part of it's to protect human subjects, that I have to put that on the front of the survey before folks proceed with the survey, telling them what the information will be used for. But I'm also happy to, as I've done in other places, and even bring my students into this, do a community forum to talk about the results. We can have, we can brainstorm, that can be later down the road, but if you want some type of interaction with citizens or opportunity for them to interact, to ask questions about it, or hear the full sort of report on it, that's something that we're more than happy to do as well, in terms of presenting the results to the residents.
Okay, geez, that's fantastic. Okay.
thank you.
Ms. Green, did you have anything else or on that, or?
No, I look forward to working, with Dr. Tarsi Feingold on this.
And should we take an official vote to, work with her on this
Yes,
survey?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
Just to reiterate, I heard you say it, but just for the sake of
Yes,
saying it again,
thank
there's no cost associated with this to the town
Right.
at all, right?
Correct,
Okay.
correct.
Thank
Absolutely
you.
no cost.
Yep.
We do this as community service, and even with the printing of paper copies and things like that, I have a small research budget that we can use for that, so no cost to the town. We do this so that my students really get that hands-on experience, and we love to benefit the community around us because we do focus on public administration.
Where else can we use them?
So, exactly, hold that thought, because that discussion did come up. I will entertain a motion to work with Bridgewater State on the Town of Hanson Citizen Survey.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, great, thank you so much. We look forward to working with you, and have our people, we'll have your people call our people, and we'll do the same, and we'll just keep it popping, and we'll get something going. All right, thank you.
Thank you all
We'll
so much
talk
for having me.
soon.
I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you so much.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, that brings us to Town Administrator Select Board goals. I know we've got something somewhere, which is about as vague as I can be. Let's see, well, I remember seeing it, I just don't know where the heck it is in this comprehensive package. Oh, thank you so much. Ms. Green, I know you and Mrs. Rain, kind of whittled down what we had before, because we had, quite a few moving parts there. And although we want you to do all those things, we do need to prioritize and,
Every single one of them, Lisa.
yes. So I don't know, did you want, I hate to put you on the spot, but do you mind just kind of rolling through it a little bit?
Well, what we consolidated some of it, it was a little bit too, it was scattered, so we just tried to consolidate everything into the proper place. Like, for the specific town administrator, do you want me to read them?
I mean, I think that would be helpful.
All right.
Yeah, sorry to torture you that way.
You are torturing me. Develop a communication plan to expand beyond social media to engage community in visioning and decision-making, including town meeting. Create a customer-friendly atmosphere at the town hall. create an onboarding orientation program for elected appointed officials. This is specific for the town administrator. Continue to host strategy sessions with department heads and committee chairs. Prepare information sheets for all volunteer opportunities. Recruit, train, and retain professional staff. Identify key positions to become vacant within the next 2 to 5 years and develop succession plans or recruitment process. Hire new highway director, hire new information technology specialist, investigate the cost of HR specialists, implement performance reviews and professional development plans for all staff. Review department reporting and management by having monthly individual meetings to review current assignments with updates. Develop a plan to enforce transparency of town bylaws related to all meeting minutes being recorded and posted. Draft and implement a plan for the animal shelter in town.
Okay. Did anybody want to comment on this, or do you want to noodle it and get back, or?
I don't think there's anything to mutilate, I don't know about you, but I did, some of it's ongoing and some of it's like a specific, do it and you're done, so I don't know if there's a,
Yeah.
but I like it.
So my thought is this. First, what separates this from just her job description in general as it relates to what we'd expect her to do anyways? And the second thing is an inadvertent consequence of developing a task list like this when a lot of these things seem specific, but they are actually very broad and can change. We run the risk that if you prioritize something, it's going to put on blinders for other things because we're putting her on notice to do these things. So let's say we tasked Lisa with doing, 3 priorities off this thing. Something else that's not on this list specifically takes up a majority of the time, and then we have to go back knowing that this board changes 2 people every year. You could be graded against yourself. You could be hurting yourself. Because the people that come on, you're not guaranteed to have the institutional knowledge that these things were developed 3 years ago. So I guess, are we over-prescribing a job that already has a job description?
I mean,
If
fair
we're not.
point, but I guess,
But to finish my thought,
Yeah.
is there a way, since we're talking about noodling this, to create very specific, doable tasks within a 12-month period, so that way we don't run the risk of the stuff I just talked about?
okay. So, yes, I agree. I think some of these things are definitely just part of her job. I mean, like hiring a new highway director, yeah.
All that.
I agree with that. But that said, I recognize what you're saying about the turnover. I think it is important for the board as a whole, as a body, to say to our town administrator and let's take your example, the next 12 months, here's the things we really need you to focus on. That doesn't mean you don't focus on the rest of your job. Everything else doesn't fall by the wayside. But we're telling you, these are our 3 key priorities that we want to see you achieve in the next 12 months rather. And it shouldn't be like de facto things that I do every day. It should be move the needle on some improvement. These are the 3 things. To me, that's what I think they should be.
I agree.
So if people want to look at this and then maybe respond, the genesis of this has been so crazy. It's been all over the place. And it was like a compilation of a bunch of stuff people put together, and then, Mrs. Rain winnowed it down with Miss McDowell, so, I don't know if people want to, one obvious thing for the next 12 months is we need to work on information for the override. Like, to me, yes, that's her job, but that's also a priority.
So I guess so just take that into consideration, and I'm not trying to downplay how
No,
much work
I
went into
don't-
this.
yeah,
I don't
yeah.
want that to be taken in any way, shape, or form. My point is like, we have a massive budget issue right now. That's gonna take up all your time. We have a school issue that's gonna take up all of your time. We don't have MBTA funding for grants. That is gonna take up all of your time.
Yes.
My biggest thing is getting folks on board with personnel policies and getting annual reviews in. That is taking up way too much time. Those 4 things right there, and again, not to say none of this other
Actually,
stuff
that's
is not
not
important,
here,
but
it
like,
should be.
all of that stuff are things that you're gonna have to check off the list and is gonna spend most of your time. I've been doing High Street, you've been amazing with, and Tony as well, with the High Street Park stuff. Like, how long are we gonna kick that can down the road with a whole bunch of volunteers that openly say, we don't know what we're doing, we're trying to figure it, like, let's get a park. Let's add that to the list, High Street Park. Let's get something, let's get a shovel in the ground. Like, those are things I can think of that are tangible, that are things that we have had as priorities for years and years and years, that I think, again, I'm just one person and I'm just putting my 2 cents out there. Like, those are things that I think that should be, that have a finite, like, 12-month deadline, I guess, is that's not gonna overburden you with 1,000 other phone calls and knocks on your door and personnel stuff that I know takes up a whole bunch of time. I hope that makes sense, because I'm not trying to, like I
That
said, I'm not
does
trying
make
to down.
sense. I would submit to you that I agree with most of what you said, but I think some of the things, like, for instance, do something up at High Street. That's our goal. She needs to help us do that, but it's our goal.
I don't disagree. Take that off the list. What I'm saying is that you have 4 pages of stuff that are her job description. I just use that as a,
No, this isn't all about her. This is not all about her. It's not.
Who's it
This
about?
is,
Well, there's
I mean,
there's
the
other
title of
goals.
this
there's
is-
other
it's
goals
town
in here,
administrator's
economic
goals and
development,
objectives, right?
communication, stakeholder, you know, it's not all.
There's other pages, but it's fine. No, I hear what you're saying.
But I thought we were talking about this.
Well, we were
the title of
talking
this
about the
is-
town administrator goals to begin with, but
Yeah.
then, like, further into the document, there's, you know.
These sheets are all, what I did is took my little proofreading eyes and tried to get the things that should be on the town administrator thing, on the government's, you know, that's all I did.
Okay.
Budget, you know, I tried to winnow those things, because they were all over the place.
Okay.
Get them in the proper slots, but it's not all for Lisa. This is, now the next one is select board goals and objectives. And, you know, it goes on to other aspects of government who are in charge of what.
I mean,
Totals.
ideally, I'd like to dedicate some time in an open meeting where we could talk about this.
Right.
Just slog through it and agree on what the priority is, but we've been, you know, running after like a runaway train with, you know, all of the town meetings and blah, 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 and everything else that's been going on. So I really would like to be, like, collectively be thoughtful and not just, like, we've got a beginning here that I think we could use as a starting point for our conversation, but I think you brought up some things that I don't necessarily see in here. I can think of some things that I don't necessarily see in here. I'm sure everybody could. You know, I'm struggling with the need to set these goals and get something in writing, and the need to do it in the right way.
Lisa, are they goals or are they just things that have to be done? And like a checklist of things that we have to be aware of? Because you still have the day-to-day, every day.
Yeah.
That Lisa has to take care of, we have to take care of. I mean, it's their goals, I guess, but
Sorry, I stole yours, sorry.
if we don't achieve all the goals, we failed. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, I know, I hate that, because I don't want to
like
just
that.
set goals that are unattainable, or that we, to Joe's point, like, that we're just being so vague about how long we've got to do them, that, you know, it's like, well, you know, what, like, you know, our clothes are all gonna go out of fashion, we're gonna retire before any of these goals get done. I think, you know, you make some fair points. How do we want to handle it going forward? What do we want to do?
It is interesting, because it reminds me a little bit of what I suggested a few months back about having a list of things with a little status. This is handling it differently, but if we just have a list of goals that we present at every year, and you say, no, I didn't meet this, do we need to know how each one is going? I don't know.
You had wanted kind of like a project plan thing, right? Like
I wanted,
almost
this
like
is exactly what I wanted, but I just wanted a little status.
You wanted
All I
a
wanted was
status, yeah, maybe like comments,
Yeah, that's all,
status or
just
something.
like this, but with a call, with a status.
Except all of these wouldn't necessarily be like things you'd want.
No,
Yeah, you know,
no,
yeah.
There's a lot, no, not everything deserves a status.
All right,
Not
so
everything's being worked
how do we want to, what do we want to do to move this forward?
I guess for me, the organization of this matters, because I'm reading it on the agenda that this whole document is what we're talking about. Apparently, we're talking about the first page, totally fine. But if we are gonna talk about these other pages, I think we should dedicate a lot more time to having this conversation.
Yes.
So for myself, I don't wanna feel rushed, because I do think, I don't wanna have unintended consequences for someone that's at the helm that has a whole bunch of stuff to do. Also, as a select board, we can have all the things down on paper we want, but again, it goes back to what I just said earlier. If we're just swinging for the fences, is that the best use of our time and the townspeople's monies and resource versus what we have to actually deal with? Because I keep coming up against like, we're putting a lot of eggs in the basket that the override's gonna pass, and we really have to take it seriously. I'm not saying no one is taking it seriously, that's all I'm gonna say, but, we really have to take this methodically around what the future might look like, and I'm really afraid that we're gonna be spending a heck of a lot more time talking about that stuff as we get closer to this.
Yeah.
So,
I found it.
I don't wanna lose sight of that. So I think we need to spend a lot more time on this, really mulling it over, because we have a uphill battle.
So do you guys, and just for the record, I am not assuming that the override's gonna pass by any stretch of the imagination. Do you guys feel comfortable with us putting a pin in this and picking it up after town meeting in October? I just, because we're only meeting the 27th of August, then we're meeting again, I don't know what it is, like the middle of September. I'm just trying to be reasonable about what we're able to do. Do you want to have a one-off meeting just to talk about this? Nothing else on the agenda, which I think is probably the best way to
I
go.
think after town meeting, when we have our feet underneath us, dedicate a meeting to just this. Because we're talking, I mean, these are like months and years worth of
Yes.
projects, so it needs the time.
It needs the time and attention, I agree. Okay, are you guys in agreement that we could wait until after town meeting and we'll spend a meeting where we just talk about this?
And
Okay.
do we need,
All right.
I guess we'll discuss how we're gonna handle that meeting, with the facilitation of it. And it is true that a lot of these things are not just 1 year stuff.
No.
And if you don't finish them, doesn't mean you failed.
Right, but that should be part of what we're measuring here, because how do you know if somebody's successful if you're not even putting time frames around
We need to
things?
put times
Yeah.
on some of them.
Yeah, yep. Okay, all right, well, we'll beat that little nag to death, but a good discussion, and I'm glad, because I do think it needs a lot more attention, so.
Just a thank you for everybody that put the
Yes.
time and energy.
Yeah,
into
thank you,
doing it.
guys.
That was a lot of work.
It gives us a really good starting point, and we need something to like focus our conversation. So speaking of conversations and focusing, we need to approve the, August 6th, minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All right, and we also need to approve a one-day liquor license for, September 4th for Beacon Communities Company event.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Fantastic. Any burning committee updates that anybody needs to share?
What about the Hanson Regional tomorrow night? Is that?
We did that up on
Did you host us, for, the meeting for tomorrow night?
What time is it?
I don't know, but it's
Oh,
posted
for the
on-
school committee meeting.
Yeah, it's on the,
Posted,
Yeah.
yes.
I don't know, I just
I
saw
think
it
they
online.
start at 6:30, but look it up. I'm not 100%.
6:30 tomorrow
Yeah.
night? Okay, thank you.
Any deep burning desire to give us updates? Okay. Then that brings us to the town administrator report. And, Ms. Green, I know, we have somebody that we would like to recognize with us this evening, in the way of our, highly esteemed, Chief O'Brien.
So on Friday, Chief O'Brien was enjoying a day off with his brother, out off the coast of, Weymouth, when they basically came across a motorboat accident. It looked like a motorboat had, hit a sailboat. And then Chief O'Brien and his brother basically were first on the scene there, and did see that the two people who were on the sailboat, were seriously injured. So they rendered services, to the injured folks and then called in for, emergency first responders who were basically at the scene, I think within a couple of minutes after they called. So, our fire chief and his brother basically saved 2 lives that day. Because one of the injuries on one of the folks that I understand is very severe. So, you know, they kept them from bleeding out, and saved lives, so.
And that's on a day
Recognize
off,
our hands
Chief
up.
O'Brien.
That should,
I mean, it
You
just,
don't get a day off.
and you just got back from saving people up in Vermont and helping in Vermont?
Did not end up deploying.
Oh, you didn't? Okay, all right. Okay, I mean, I was like, does this guy ever take a day off? This is just crazy. It's crazy, but we, we think highly of you and we appreciate everything you and your staff do every day. This just takes the cake, that on your day off, you'd be right there.
And that's your brother too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And ironically, like, the majority of the people at the department know my brother, and, it's just funny where he's been a Weymouth police officer on the Hanson. We never interact professionally, so that was the first time we've ever interacted professionally.
That's so strange, yeah.
Yeah, so, I guess, thank you.
And we heard, people were like, Chief O'Brien's on the news, and, people were just losing their mind. For once, for something positive. We always like when Hanson's on there for something positive.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, Ms. Green, I know you have your town administrator's report.
yes, well, yeah, that was one of the items as well. I just want to note too, as the board knows, we have been working on bringing on a consultant to assist the board with providing public override, education, and financial impact information. A consultant has not been brought on board yet. Nobody has been chosen. We are seeking proposals that possibly would be at a lower cost. There are Facebook postings that the board is trying to hire somebody to promote and sell the override. That is completely inaccurate. That is not legal. We cannot advocate for it, but yet we can provide information and education in financial impact. So we can provide that information to the residents so they are fully educated on the purpose of an override.
Right, it's just the facts. Here's what happens
Here's the
if we don't
facts.
have an override. Here's what happens if we
Exactly.
have the override. Make the choice. You're a voter. The voters ultimately decide. Nothing's changing about that. And as to the legality of whether we're able to do this, the Office of Campaign Finance is very clear that if you're providing facts, that is absolutely permissible.
Yes.
We've also checked with town council on it. But I do also want to clarify that although we did have one provider come and give us a sales pitch, we have not made any decisions
No
about
decisions have
about
been
who
made.
we will or if we will hire somebody.
Correct.
And that, those decisions will all be made in open session with an open vote and a full and robust discussion amongst the board.
Right, and all proposals will be provided to the board as they do come in. We did receive an additional proposal, but I've reached out to a couple of other companies and resources to see if they can offer some proposals. So hopefully by next week, the 27th meeting, I'll have those additional proposals to let the board have consideration for.
Well, Mr. Heel said, I hope you don't mind me saying, but it's too late anyway if you do, Mr. Heel turned to me and said, maybe we could get Bridgewater State to do.
I did reach out to Dr. Tarsi Feingold and asked if that is something that they would be interested in doing as well.
Okay, particularly since the cost would be very appealing.
Exactly, exactly.
Yep.
Very good education, learning experience for
Yep.
those students. So I did reach out and I'm waiting.
Great.
Can I just say one thing? We are not trying to sell the override. I don't want my taxes to go up.
Nobody does.
I can't afford it, but at the same time, the reality of it is if your gasoline has gone up, if your food costs have gone up, if everything in your life has gone up, how do you expect this board and this town to continue to run on 2020 prices? It doesn't make any sense. Whether we like it or not, we're looking at needing more money, or we're gonna have to do severe cuts.
Yes,
We can do that.
we can do
cut-
that.
we can
Whatever the
slash
voters
everything.
decide, we're gonna do, but.
And then when things don't get done, you can complain about it on Facebook. I'm done.
Well, so I guess my question is, what you're bringing up is obviously valid. is it being brought up to you in your office, or are these things that are being brought up on Facebook? Because Facebook is not the forum to have any conversations about anything if you want to have an actual factual conversation. So I think if you don't mind, as a request, the next time we are anticipating putting this conversation or something that we just know is controversial or appears to be controversial, can we just try to advertise it a little bit more and try and get people to actually come to the place where the discussion's actually happening versus some random Facebook or Twitter feed?
Are they here?
No, we have had people reach
They're
out
not
to us,
here.
but,
It's
yeah.
literally what my point is.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to say is, a lot of these conversations happen in misinformation silos, and the chairs are empty pretty routinely for these questions that can get answered relatively quickly. And the squeakiest wheel is getting the most grease at this point with the most attention, and it's not moving anything forward. And I really just think we could try to make a little bit more of effort in some way to try to get more people to these open sessions to have these conversations. So hopefully we can get the right information out, up to including that no decision has ever been made about any of these things. And there is nothing wrong with talking about ideas in the open, transparently, in front of everybody that's a voter, and getting an eclectic response back in real time. There's nothing wrong with conversation and discourse. I'd just rather it happen here than in the comments section. Half of us don't even pay attention to it, so half the time when I hear about, that's why I'm asking, because I'm just assuming that a lot of these conversations are happening in Facebook. Otherwise, I'd have no idea. So I think it's important that maybe we try to advertise to get more people here, and maybe that could be a goal, to try to have more attendance in some of these.
Yeah, it isn't just Facebook, but of course, that's, where the most passionate,
I think that's where the most eyes.
keyboard warriors are.
It's where the most eyes are, it's most convenient.
But I will say I have had a couple of people reach out to me with misinformation, about this, saying, oh, it's illegal, and you guys are trying to cram the override. It's like, we're not trying to cram the override, we're just trying to present facts.
It's hard to do something illegal in plain view in front of everybody after it's been vetted.
I mean, that's true. I'm sure somebody will challenge you on that, but
Oh, it's
it will be
always
on
a challenge.
Facebook, so you won't see it. But, okay, so I'm sorry, Ms. Green.
It's over,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely. So moving on, we have received some resumes for the highway director position. So we will be reviewing them and plan to have some interviews this Thursday.
Would you characterize those as highly qualified individuals?
Yes.
Okay, so you're feeling more positive about it than you
Yeah,
were?
very
Okay.
positive, very positive, yes. So we hope to bring someone forward next Tuesday, August 27th, the meeting for the board to consider.
Oh, my, okay.
Yes, yes. I received some updates from our town planner regarding some projects that he's been working on. And I just wanted to bring to the boards because some of these, one of these actually is with one of the grants that we received from the One Stop program. So our housing production plan is just about 50% complete. The planning board will be holding public hearings in October on this, and it will be posted once it's scheduled. So that is a project that's moving forward, and we're getting that close to being complete.
And will we spend that money before the end of the year?
Yes.
Okay, great.
He also, we have an update on the open space and recreation plan. He has proposals and he's waiting for the October special town meeting to see if the funding is approved, which it is an article in there. He also.
Through CPC, right?
Yes, it is.
So it's not from free cash?
It's
or
not from free
anything? Yeah.
cash, it's through the
Okay.
community preservation, yes. He also reported, so 0 West Washington Street is it's town-owned property that he did receive a grant for, as a site preparation. So that means that there is work being done to create like conceptuals, utilities, things like that, so that anybody interested in bringing a business to Hanson can look at that site and know that everything is ready to go. They just need to give us, the name of the business, things like that. But we do have some conceptuals, of that. It's still a work in progress, but it is moving forward. And again, that's funded through the One Stop for Growth program.
And that was an Economic Development Committee,
Yes.
Initiative, and the thought process is, we had been told by several developers, like, why does the town sell property without doing all the permitting and getting like concepts in place? You basically are handing us something that we just are gonna flip and turn around and sell for more money. So Tony took that ball and went with it, and,
Yes, he
for
did.
a piece of property that we own, so.
Yes, I mean, this shows where the building can be located, parking, utilities, things like that. So it's a good plan and work in progress, and hopefully we'll see, some tax revenue out of it in the near future.
Can I ask a question?
Yes,
Where specifically is that piece of property?
it's right next to the water department.
Yeah,
I-
but
I-
it's
I
like
saw it.
Department's located.
industrial park, water,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's set a little bit back.
Yeah.
so,
Okay.
Right there. So our ARPA applications, I've submitted applications for the food pantry updates. Chief O'Brien mentioned that they're looking at a Class 5 ambulance, it's called. It's a vehicle that transport life-saving equipment. It doesn't transfer people, but the equipment, that they sometimes need, in emergencies. So we have submitted a application for that. Repairs for catch basins around town under the stormwater, and infrastructure category. And I'll be submitting the application for the Pratt Place culvert with the updated, quote that we got for the replacement of that. So it's approximately $920,000 worth of, ARP applications that, are submitted or will be submitted in the next few days.
which is, I mean, think about how far you're stretching that money, that's ARPA, to cover so many different diverse needs. Well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The Pratt Place, are they working on that yet?
There,
I was
yes.
behind a very strange cement truck the other day, some kind of a pumper, I've never seen a pumper truck like that before, and I thought it was going to
Yeah,
that.
so they're doing some boring type of work in the mud there to, I guess, find out the best places to start cementing the pylons or something like
Yeah.
that. So they're doing that work. And like I said, the application for the actual the culvert there, the equipment in that work, I will be submitting to ARPA, for that money. So, we're in good. I'd already got a response regarding the food pantry updates, that it is an eligible expense. So I'm just gonna reach out and just confirm with them, does eligible mean approved, or get a little bit of more information? That way we can do a lot of really fantastic updates to the food pantry.
Which is a town-owned building.
It's a town-owned building, correct. But the town does not operate the food pantry. It's operated by a separate entity. And then my last item is just recognizing again, Chief O'Brien for, his heroic, actions on that Friday in saving those 2 lives.
Okay, then with that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn to executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 38, section 21A1, to discuss the reputation, character, physical condition, or mental health rather than professional competence of an individual, or discuss the discipline or dismissal of, or complaints or charges against a public officer, employee, staff member, or individual. Executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 38, section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating position of the public body and the chair so declares. Litigation, discussions, highway, and administrative unions. Executive session pursuant to open meeting law, chapter 38, section 21A7, to review and approve executive session minutes not to be released August 6th, August 13th, 2024. I will entertain a motion to adjourn. We will not be, we will be returning to wage and personnel, after our executive session. We have completely blown the timelines
Yeah, we
on
sure
this,
have.
but we're, hope springs eternal.
Second.
Great. Roll call vote?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you so much, and we will see you for wage and personnel in a little while.